Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Paddy again. Now, I should have said wee Paddy from across the shock. I nearly made a big mistake there, didn't I? Anyway, good morning. And in front of you, I have 15 knives. They're all slip joint knives. And by slip joint, just for those who maybe don't know, it's a non-locking knife. Now, more especially known in the traditional world. Nearly all traditional knives were slip joints. The older type knives were slip joints, and backlocks came in eventually, but originally knives were slip joints. They were non-locking. And the reason I've got 15 out, I was asking myself, does the steel designation make a difference in an under 3-inch knife that's just a pocket knife? Does it really matter what steel is on it? And I'm still talking about it in my own head. So what I decided to do was I picked 15 different brands out. And this is where I love being a collector, where I can get 15 different brands out and I set them down here. And having asked that question, there's only 2 knives out of these 15 that are all different makers that are the same blade steel. And it's these 2 on the outside. These are M390. These are modern traditional knives. Now, they're both from Italy and the same area, which is why they are probably both the same M390. But the rest are all different blade steels, different styles, different countries, and they're all different. And my question to me is, well, does it matter? Do I buy these knives because of the blade steel, or do I buy them because of the style of the knife and the company that I'm buying from? Which is more important, the knife steel, the company, or the style? And that's a really intriguing question, because I have modern ones here, which I thoroughly enjoy. I have traditional ones here, which I really enjoy. But how much does the steel come into that? And I'm sorry, when this is all laid down in front of me, the only answer I can give is no, the steel is not the deciding factor. So if you're buying a modern knife, does the steel matter? And it seems to be that the steel is so important now that you have to have this better high-end steel that's going to cut for longer, have wear resistance, better wear resistance, just an all-round better steel in modern knives. But does that make these knives lesser knives? And again, the answer is probably no. In my opinion, it doesn't make them lesser knives. Because if I want a high-end steel, I can have it. And I don't tend to have to spend as much money on a slip joint with a high-end steel than I do if I get a modern one. And then here's the next question. Well then, why would you buy a more modern one at a much inflated price? And it is much inflated. These are just under 3 inches. Most of these are just under 3 inches. Here we are. Take this one. This is an MKM. It's an M390. It's a good blade length. It'll do anything most of us ever want to do in a day. It's a slip joint, but it's M390 titanium, linen micarta. It's just beautiful. Just a beautiful knife that will do most work that I ever needed to do. So I only pay for this, it's just over £100. Just over £100 for M390 in a knife that's going to do most things I do. Why would I want to take that huge jump? And I'll use this, well, no, here you are. Here's my carry today, it's sitting here. This is an S30V, which is a lesser steel, a lesser steel. Let's just show you the difference in the blade. There's a difference in the cutting edge of the blade. There's a substantial difference, isn't there? And this would do heavier work, yes. But for most of our days, do we need this extra heft? And I think the answer is probably no, unless you're a working man on the tools and this is your tool. This is a beautiful knife. S35VN, you know, titanium and brass. It is just beautiful. Its design is gorgeous. But this is, you know, 190, nearly £200. To get it delivered to me is £200, basically. This is a drop knife. So, do I need to spend nearly double the price to have that bigger knife? I've got the blade steel here, and just for a fact, there's another. Well, no, here, there's, yeah, this is another one. This is an M390. This is a beautiful knife. A beautiful knife, an M390, again, just under the 3 inches, will do anything I need to do in a day. Again, cost just over £100. But most of the new modern knives that are going to have that blade designation, the higher end ones, are up in the 200 plus. Do I need to spend 200 plus? That's my question today. Do I need to spend that much money on a knife? And do you want to know something? The answer is so complicated just to work on your head. Most of the time over here in the UK, I carry a slip joint because it's legal. Any one of these I can take out and carry. They're legal to carry. So it makes sense for somebody like me to have these. But I love this. I love the look of this. And when I'm on private land, I can use this. Or when I go camping, I can use this. So what's the difference in blade steel? Why is there so much emphasis on it at the moment? At one stage, most knives came in a carbon fibre, and this is a custom knife I had made, and it's in C70, which is a very cheap carbon fibre. It doesn't hold an edge for a huge amount of time, but it's easy sharpened and stropped back up and you get it into action again. It's in Jean Micarta. This is a beautiful knife, a handmade knife with a spine that is so attractive. It's just gorgeous. It's a Michael May knife. Now, that C70 costs about £100, so it's not that much difference than these two out here with M390. Which one do I prefer? Not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. But then again, like I'm judging that against an M390 blade steel. Here's my newest acquisition. This is the one that I've just got. This is a Mike's Knives. This is his SFO from GEC. Look at that. Beautiful. I just love that with a Cornish chuff on the blade. This is an SFO. There's only 100 of these made. It's in 1095 carbon steel. Again, not a great blade steel. Not a great blade steel. It's not amazing, but it works, and it works as on a penknife. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. This knife is so well made. Again, around the £100 mark. Which one would I prefer? This one or an M390? And the honest answer is, for me as a collector, it's this one. And yet the blade steel is nowhere near as efficient as an M390. So does that mean that blade steel means nothing to me? And again, a really confusing answer is no, it doesn't, because blade steel does mean I do like good blade steel. But it depends what I'm buying, and that's the difference. It depends what I'm buying and what I want. Here's another example. Here's more modern. Here's my Hinderer in 20 CV. Absolutely lovely. This cost me about £300. Would I have paid that if it had been in 1095? No, not a chance would I have paid that money. I bought this because of Rick Hinderer's design, because of the knife. Everything about the knife is beautiful, and that includes the blade steel, which is 20 CV, which is a brilliant, it's an M390 derivative. So, I mean, it's a beautiful knife, but I wouldn't have bought it if it had 1095 steel on it, not a £300. It had to have everything to get that price tag. So on this knife, the blade steel really mattered when I was purchasing this knife because of the price of the knife. That's why it really mattered. Or did it? And this is where look, if you go through your own collection and start to talk about what you're doing in your own head, these are the sort of questions and answers that come up. I have recently just bought this knife. This is a discontinued knife. It's a Spyderco Pitts. This knife cost me, well, it's about, to buy these new was $240. I got this cheaper because it was used. But I would bought this new. If this was out now by Spyderco, I would buy this for $240. Why? Because of the design of it. This backlock here, the fact that it's an under 3-inch, I can use it here legally. It has got fidget factor. You can't flick it open your hand, but it has that fidget factor that I like. It's just a simple fidget factor. It has weird wee bits sticking out all over it. The blade steel is N690. So it's not a high-end blade steel by any means. It's an all-right blade steel, and it will do for anything I'll want. Much like these other ones, it'll do for anything I want. But it's £240 to buy this new, where a Hinderer 300. And I said to get that, I had to have the blade steel because that made the whole package. This, the package, is the knife. This, the package, is the design. It's unusual. But it is titanium, but it's just not a high-end blade steel. And it didn't cost me, it wouldn't have cost me much less than what my Hinderer would. And yet with this, the blade steel was not that important. It was the design cues that I liked on the knife and the fact that it was UK legal. So why then was it more important? I don't know. I can't give you an answer to that. And that's the answers that I think we go round in circles so much and putting so much emphasis that we think is on blade steel. Like I thought I would only buy that if it had the high-end blade steel. And I probably would. I still stand by that. But then here's another knife. Look at this beautiful knife. This is Legiol. And it's in T12, which is a Swedish steel, which is not particularly brilliant. But look at that knife. Look at that knife. It is stunningly beautiful. It is just so well finished. Sorry, I'll give this a quick wipe. The polish on this knife is part of this knife's beauty. Look at it. It's just stunning, and I love the little cross on here. It's just the most beautiful knife. Not even a half stop on it. And it's an old traditional knife. So is the blade steel important with that? No, because I'm probably not going to cut much with that other than a bit of food, a bit of cheese or something like that. So the blade steel wasn't important at all, and that's fact. Here's another knife. It's a good looking knife, isn't it? Black micarta handles, stainless steel bolsters, brass liners, fitting is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful Wharncliffe, which is one of my, well, it is probably my favourite blade shape. It's a sway back. It is a stunning knife to hold and use. It's a Rough Rider. It's in 440A. Does that matter? The price for this was about $15 when it came out. You can't get them anymore now. Can't get them. Like hen's teeth, and they're now a wanted knife. There's so many people want this knife and they can't get it except on the secondary market. and they're going for double what they were originally. And it's a Rough Rider, this is a Rough Rider with 440A, and people are screaming for it. They want Rough Rider to bring it back out again. Give me the answer to that. Why? Look at the centering on that. £15 knife. £15. 440A. And people are scared. The amount of people have offered to do trades with me for that knife. More than any other knife here. That knife. The amount of trade offers I wanted, or money offers I've had for that. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So where does steel fit into mine? Do you know, I'm no lesser off for having this conversation with you. I'm no better off thinking, here's another knife, but you're talking this is £130. Beautiful knife, I love this. Full of flaws, but I still paid the money. Did the blade steel matter in this? No. It's S30V, which in today's modern standard is a very average blade steel. Used to be the super steel, now it's very average. But the blade steel didn't particularly matter in this. I love this knife. What's the difference between this knife and that knife? Very little. Micarta, both got canvas micarta handles. That's got S30V. That's got M390. I love them both. I love them both. They're both about the same price. Much superior blade steel. So what's the difference? Why would I pay as much for this as I would this? Why would I not just buy this? Because it's blade, it's design. This is a Wharncliffe. This is a sheep's foot, type of sheep's foot. But they're just completely different knives in hand. And that's the reason why I bought these. So to me, it does seem to go more with price. Once I get up the higher end, I want the higher end steel. Then I went and bought this and destroyed that. Destroyed that because this is only N690. And yeah, it's a fine steel and it's used by an awful lot of custom makers, used by an awful lot of people. But it's a very average steel. But I was prepared to pay nearly as much for this as this. What is it? Design. So design does make a difference. Here's another knife. There's a Tucson, right? I made this. This is a slip joint, but I made it UK legal by taking a lot of the blade off. This is under 3 inches now. I can sneak up on it. A beautiful knife. Beautiful knife. Not very expensive. Not very expensive. 12C27. Again, a very basic Swedish steel. It's a good steel, but it's very basic. But in that knife, it's fine because the price of the knife, the steel went along with it, and it's good. But if that steel had been offered in this, would I have bought this? No. If 12C27 had been put in this, I would not have paid £300 for this. If 12C27 had been put in this, would I have paid for it? Yes. I explain that to me because I can't understand it. I just can't understand it. There's a case knife. You're paying £60 minimum over here for a case knife. Beautiful knife, sway back. I love it. The steel is that mystery 440 something. Doesn't hold an edge or anything, but this is a beautiful knife. It's a stunningly beautiful knife. So I put up with the steel. Look, the steel works and it gets me through most days that I ever have to get through. Beautiful knife. This is case one of Case's better ones. It's not perfectly lined up, but it's nicely made. There's no gaps in the back. It's a lovely knife. For the price, I'm prepared to put up with that blade steel. Here's another knife. That's a Barlow, right? And I like a Barlow. The Barlow and the Wharncliffe are my favourite. 440C. Much better steel, in my opinion, than these carbon steels for a penknife because it lasts a better amount of time and it's as easy to sharpen as them and strop as them. Gorgeous knife. So, I think we've covered nearly all the knife. There's a VG10 in a knife. This is a £30 knife. If it had been VG10 in this, would I have bought it? Yes. If it had been VG10 in this, would I have bought it? No. This is a £30 knife. I'm very happy with the VG10 because I love the design, and VG10 in a pocket knife is perfectly usable. As is 440A. As is 440. This knife has become so popular that people are offering over twice what it costs so they can have it in their collection. Go figure. 440A that everybody says, and you hear all the time, I wouldn't have a knife with 440A. This is now selling over twice what it was put out at, and it's a Rough Rider. So this is just a German steel, a Sleipner steel on this Ottermesser. Great steel, but it's a carbon steel, and it's not, it's not high end. This knife is about £50. Beautiful knife. Did the steel matter when I was buying it? No, because I was buying the knife. I loved the anchor on it. I loved the blade shape. So it didn't really matter because the knife was not over expensive. Now, I'm saying not over expensive to a knife collector. To a lot of people out there, that is expensive. So that's a different story completely. I can only talk about me. Here's another one. I think it says AEBL. This is a Shatton Morgan knife. A beautiful knife. I was buying the style. The blade steel is better than what's on the GEC. But which one would be my favourite knife? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Because I do like collecting pocket knives. And the steel on pocket knives doesn't seem to be as important. It doesn't seem to be as important. Because they're user knives. So you're going to dull them, you're going to sharpen them. Some of these, I've never dulled this knife. Dulled a lot of the other ones, but I've never dulled this one. I've used it, but I've never dulled it. I've dulled this one. This gets used so much. Although it hasn't been recently, there's other ones that are starting to sort of take its place. Not take its place, but move in on it. So, at the end of all that, that's why I picked 15 brands. There are 15 different brands of knives with different steels, barring these two. And I'm trying to sort out where the steel came into it. And you've heard me go through reasons why I bought the knives. Can you tell me? I don't think the answer is there. The knife you're buying at that time is the knife you're buying at that time. And the steel that's on that knife at that time, it either makes or breaks a sale, or it doesn't stop the sale. And this is the example here. This knife at £300, the Hinderer, would have had to have this high-end steel on it, or I wouldn't have bought it. It's a beautiful design, beautiful in hand, everything about it stunning. But if it had N690, I wouldn't have bought it. This has N690 on it, and I bought it. And it's, when it was originally out, it was only £60 less, £240. That's a lot of money for N690 steel. So why was the blade steel not as important as that? Because of the design cues of this particular knife. And that's it. That's where it is for me. Design cues in a knife can make or break whether you'll buy it with a lesser blade steel in it. I've never blunted that. I've never blunted that. They're M390s, 20CV. So I know they're great steel. I've never blunted them. And I've used them as much on a daily basis as some of these. But I've never blunted them because the steel is so good. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter to me. And that's what I'm trying to get across. I can't work out a reason for a lot of these knives, why I love them and why I like them so much. Based on steel. It makes no sense to me. 15 different steels. 15 different design cues on the knives. A lot of them are similar, granted, because that's a blade shape I like. But as far as, I don't know, it baffles me. It baffles me why there's such a big furore over blade steels. You'll buy what you like, and sometimes you make the blade steel fit in to your head because the design cue of the knife tells you that you need that knife. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Sometimes your head will tell you that the design cue of the knife is what makes you want to pay £100 for a little pocket knife, over £100 for a little pocket knife, £50 for a pocket knife that's really good, but it's only got 440C on it. But I would still rate this as a user up with these. This is a great steel, 440C, great steel. It'll not outlast them, but for everything that I'm going to do in a day. The case knives, the steel's crap. Not crap. I'm not saying that's bad. It's 440A. Everybody else says crap. I don't, because I do use it, and I know it'll last long enough to get me through most days. There you go. Are we any clearer? I'm not. I'm no clearer why. A lot of the times, the steel ends up either being important or unimportant. There you go. If that made any sense to you, good luck to you. But it just proved to me that there's 15 different steels down there. Why did I buy them knives? Take care, everybody. I'm away for a cup of tea. Bye now.